Hi guys, how's it going? This is Mehnouh Shafi from Ross IELTS Academy. Today, I want to check a task 2 essay which one of our candidates have sent us and see why he got a band 7.5 in his writing. But before doing that, there are 4 important tips that you have to take into consideration when writing your essay. Let's see what they are. First of all, you have to fully address all parts of the task and present a developed position in your answer. To do so, you can use explanations, examples, or even your opinion if you are asked to. Support your ideas in a logical way and don't forget about paraphrasing appropriately. Try to use a wide range of vocabulary. In other words, you should use the direct synonyms or even the paraphrased form of the words that you can see in the question statement or in your whole essay. You shouldn't repeat one word again and again. That's wrong. However, if you are not sure about the words that you are using, just don't use them. Use the same word again. That's better than making a mistake. Most of your sentences should be grammatically error-free. If you want to get 7 and above in your grammar, you should only use complex grammatical structures. But don't you worry, because in the other videos, I will get into details of each one of these tips and you'll see how they work. Now, let's see how we can correct this writing. So first we take a look at the question statement, which says, in some countries, younger people are neglecting their right to vote. What problems does this cause and what are some of the possible solutions? As you can see, this is a problems and solutions question, which can be asked in IELTS writing task 2 in academic or general module. When I just take a look at the paragraph structure, I can see it's written in 4 separate paragraphs. The first one is the introduction, body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, and the conclusion. Now let's start correcting this writing, starting with the first criteria, which is task response. Task response means that the candidate should cover all the parts that have been mentioned or have been asked in the question statement. It means that you should cover all the question parts using the appropriate topic sentence, explanation, and example in your paragraphs. Now, let's start with the first paragraph to see how it's written based on the first criteria. Okay, so it starts with this sentence. In some nations, the young generation neglects their right to vote. The main problem this causes is that their voices would not be heard, and the most viable solution is promoting awareness about the possible consequences that it would have on their future. So as I can see here, the first sentence is a good paraphrase of the question statement. As you can see here, we have in some countries, younger people are neglecting the right to vote. And the paraphrasing here is, in some nations, the young generation neglects the right to vote. So this is a good paraphrasing. And then after that, the candidate should answer the question, the problems, just to mention the problems and solutions for this sentence, for this question statement, which the candidate has said the main problem this causes is that their voices would not be heard. So this is the problem, the one problem that is mentioned, their voices would not be heard. And next one, the most viable solution, here about the solution, it says that is promoting awareness about the possible consequences. So here's the solution. So I would say that there is a good paraphrasing and the main points have been mentioned, have been outlined clearly. So the task response in the first paragraph is good. Now the next paragraph. The main problem associated with no exercising the right to vote among younger people is that their opinions would not be taken into consideration. This is to say, when they do not vote, there is more possibility that someone who opposes their views would take the office and consequently would take measures that are not in the interest of those who did not vote. For instance, during the Iranian presidential elections in 2010, the young generation did not vote, and this resulted in the presidency of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who, according to a recent survey conducted by Tehran Time newspaper, has been known as the worst president of the country from young people perspective. So here the topic sentence is clearly pointing out that the whole paragraph is going to be talking about the problem, the main problem that was initially mentioned in the introduction paragraph. Then here in the next sentences we have the explanation. So first we have the topic sentence, then we have the related explanation about the topic sentence to extend the idea here. And then after that we have the example. For instance, there is an example, there is a relevant example for this problem which was mentioned. So I would say, yeah, there is a good topic sentence, good development, and a relevant example. There was also a good task response here. Now in the next body paragraph, to tackle this problem, governments should launch different publicity campaigns in the media to promote awareness among young people about the importance of voting. In other words, there should be programs to encourage the young generation to exercise their votes and teach them what factors are important to be considered in order to choose the right candidates. For instance, since 2014, there have been so many kinds of programs in the Iranian media focusing on the role of the vote in the future of younger people, an initiative that resulted in an increase of 35% in young votes during the 2018 presidential elections. Here again in the topic sentence, it is clearly mentioned that the whole paragraph is going to be about the solution. As you can see, it says to tackle this problem, to find a solution for this problem. And in the next sentences, you can see that there is more explanation about the topic sentence, about the solution. In other words, the language you can see here, and then in the following sentence we can see an example, for instance, and then an example for this one. So I would say there is a good topic sentence, good development, and again a good relevant example. Now let's see how the last paragraph, which is the conclusion, written here. In conclusion, the lack of younger people's vote is a major issue that affects their future. However, it can be addressed by educating them about its ramifications. Again, in the conclusion, I can see that every point that was mentioned in the introduction and extended in the body paragraphs has been summarized really well in the conclusion. So I can say, yeah, it's a good conclusion based on the first criteria, which is task response. So basically, when I look at the paragraphs and the everything that was written in each paragraph, I can say that task response in the whole essay is really good, and the score for task response would be 8. Okay, now let's see how this essay is written based on the second criteria, which is coherence and cohesion. This criteria means that the whole essay should be written in an organized way. It means that everything that is mentioned in the sentences or in the paragraphs should all be related together. So you should see this relation, you should see this organization not only in the paragraphs but in the whole essay. Now let's see how the coherence and cohesion can be seen in this text. Okay, now let's go back to the essay again. As we read each and every sentence and every paragraph of the text, we could see that there is generally a good structure. There is a good paragraph structure. We can see the 4 paragraphs and the ideas. Everything is related and used properly. Everything is used properly. We can see the linkers, linking words, the overarching statements, and like all the phrases and all the words are used correctly and in the correct place to just relate the ideas in the whole text. Besides, there is one space between each paragraph. You should be very careful with that, because when you write the first paragraph, you should have one space. You should just leave one line and then go to the next paragraph. and I can see this here. So about coherence and cohesion, I can say that this candidate gets the score 7, and that's a good one. Now let's talk about the third criteria here. Like let's see how the candidate has written the text based on the lexical resource, the vocabulary. As you can see here, I have highlighted the vocabulary problems in blue, and now let's talk about these. Okay, so in the first paragraph, instead of saying the young generation, the candidate should say the younger generation. In the next paragraph, again the same problem, the young generation, no, the younger generation did not vote. In the next paragraph, the second body paragraph, again the same problem, the young generation, no, the younger generation. And the following sentence, and teach them what factors are important to be considered in order to choose. No, what factors should be considered. You know, you shouldn't be too wordy. You shouldn't try to use fancy words when you're writing your passage. This is really important, because some candidates think that if I try to show off with some old-fashioned and fancy words or the grammar that I know, I will get a good score. And this is totally wrong, because if you are not completely sure about the words or about the grammar that you're using, please try not to use them. Only use the words, the linkers, the collocations, the grammars, only if you are completely sure that this is the correct form. So this was about the vocabulary problems. There weren't many mistakes in vocabulary, and we can say that the candidate gets the score 7 from vocabulary, lexical resource. And now we can go to the last criteria, which is the grammar. Let's see how the grammar is used here. One thing that is really important about the grammar in IELTS writing is that you shouldn't only use simple structures like one clause sentences. If you do so, you won't get a good score. You won't get above 6. If you use a combination of simple structure and complex structures, then that would not also give you a good score. But if you try to only use the complex structures, then you will get 7 and above. And this is a very good thing for your grammar. Now let's take a look at the grammatical problems here, which are highlighted in yellow for you. In the first paragraph, there is no grammatical error. In the second one, instead of saying associated with no exercising the right to vote, it should be said with not exercising the right to vote. We use not to just have a negative sentence here, not to know. Next one, would take the office and consequently would take measures. The right collocation is take office. It means to start a job, a responsibility in a position. So here, this is not the correct collocation. Take office. Next one is, instead of saying president of the country from the perspective of young people perspectives, we should say from the perspective of young people. This is not correct. This is not the correct collocation here. And also there are 2 punctuation problems here. You should know that punctuation is important in grammar. In this criteria, your punctuation will also be evaluated. Here, and this resulted in the presidency of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who according to who according to a recent survey conducted by Tehran Times newspaper, and then the rest of the sentence should be just put between 2 commas. And in the next paragraph, there is no grammatical problem. And in the last one, there is just one punctuation problem. Here it says affects their future. However, it can be addressed by educating them. However is put between 2 commas, which is not correct when you have however in the middle of your sentence, like you have 2 sentences. the first punctuation should be semicolon, and after that you should put a comma here. So it was about the grammar, and I would say the grammar would be another 7. And now let's see what would the overall band score be here. So this would be a 7.5 overall band score. So this was the structure of a writing from one of our candidates, and I hope it has been useful for you to just learn how to write your writing based on the 4 criteria that is important for the IELTS examiner. See? If you want to get 7 and above in your writing, just follow the structure that our candidate did, but don't make his mistakes. Good luck!
In this course, you will have a series of educational videos in which you will learn each and every tip you will need in specific details for both general and academic modules.
Next question type is double question, or
Attached to each video, you will have the PDF files for each question type, including the paragraph structure, the expressions, and the techniques you can apply, which have all been taught in the videos. To make sure that you learn everything properly, in each video we will write an essay, a letter, or a report by using the tips that you have learned. Moreover, something to help you in this section is the different question samples we have put for you to write your own writing about. This isn't everything. We strongly recommend you to use our writing correction services as well, so that our examiner can give you a written and video feedback and make sure you're ready for the real test. Join us to become our next successful candidate.